Yeah, so once again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 4 of workshop on web technology. We are continuing for entire week. We're starting from day 1, where we have seen basics of HTML, HTML tags, and all those things. We have created some HTML pages using different HTML tags, maybe table tag, list tags, headings, paragraphs, and all those things. We have also learned how we can create form. So that was the overview of day 1 and day 2. On day 3, we started with CSS, cascading style sheet. And we looked at few basic properties in CSS, like color property, background property, so background color or background image. Then few text related properties, so text align or font weight or font family, font size, text decoration, and so on. Then we looked at the CSS box model, where it covers content, padding, border, and a margin. We also looked at where we should write CSS. So we can write CSS inline or internal CSS at document level, or we may write external CSS file. External is preferable because you can write common code in external CSS, and you can link that CSS file to as many HTML file you want, and you can have continuity within your entire website, right? So that's what the um, external CSS file we looked at, right? So, well, let's have a look at the code of day 3. Now, before we move on, let me tell you that I've kept all these folders, day 1 to day 4, in a Google Drive and shared that Google Drive link with your CC. So you can have that Google Drive folder link from your class counselor, and you can follow along. Once we complete each day, I'm going to upload those folders in the same folder, and you'll have the same code to refer. Okay. So on day 3, we have looked at how we can write CSS, and then we changed our entire CV page, right? That we have created on day 1 with only HTML, but we changed it to make it look and feel better than whatever it was. And that was something like this. If let's say if I want to have that thing here, so it was something like this one, and we've created that thing responsive also using media queries, right? So that's what the content of day 3. Now today, what we want to do is we'll continue with CSS part as I promised. We'll look at the display property, display flags. We will learn a little bit here. Then we will also load some social icons here on this CV page. And we'll work with CSS a little bit more to understand how and what we can achieve. Even we are going to cover CSS position property today. So display flex we want to have a look at, then positions in CSS, and how we can have social icon, font icons actually. Instead of loading those images, we can have icons based on fonts. So how you can embed those font icons here, that's also I'm going to explain. Now that will be the uh, first part of this day today. In the second part, we are going to have one template, ready-made free template, and we are going to change that template for let's say the same resume website. Instead of going for this website, let's say we have a template, ready template with us, and we want to make some changes in that so that we can create our own website. So that's what we plan. Okay. So let's start today with day 4 index file, and this is what we want to start with. So this is day 4, and to understand positioning system first, let's say we have a container, and within that container we have 3 boxes. Now I'm directly saying we have a container. Obviously it's a div, that I have applied one class here, a container class, so that I can access this division in my style sheet. I'm going to use internal style sheet right now, document level style sheet, so that you can have a look at code at the same screen. So we have one container, and inside that container we have 3 more divisions. I'm going to call it a box. Okay. Now this is how you can apply more than one class to a single element. Okay, you say class equals to, then double quote, and in that double quote you apply first class, then have one space, then second class, again a space, third class, and so on. So you can apply more than one class to a single element, and this is the example how we can achieve that thing. So let us quickly write a basic CSS that we require. For example, I want to get rid of default margin and padding. Then I'll set margin 0 and padding 0 on star universal selector. We have also seen how we can define variables. So double hyphen and then variable name. Let's say I want to define some colors so that I can use those colors in my entire website. And later, if I decide to change it, then I just need to change the variable value and it gets affected in my entire website. That's one more benefit of using variables in CSS. So let's define those colors with variables, double hyphen sign, and then your variable name. That's how we define variables. And once it's a variable, you can have anything as a value there. You can have color name, color code, you can have font size, you can have margin size, padding size, or whatever you want to define, you can define there. So right now, as per our need, let's say we just define a variables. So this is how we define variable, and wherever we want to use those variables, let's say I have created classes for those colors also, red, green, and blue class. So let me use that class now. Dot red, dot indicates it's a class. So red, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use background color property, and I'll use my variable var, and inside the parenthesis I'm going to use that variable name. So this is how you can use those variables. So quickly, if I go for 2 more classes, then background color variable green, and we can use blue class here, and inside that class again background color your variable to be blue. Okay, so this is how we define class. Now let's work on the look and feel of this content, because right now we don't see anything on the page. I've loaded this page with the live server here, so along with my code I'm going to see those effects on the right side. So let's work on this container now. First of all, let's say I want to set my container a margin of 20 pixel on each side, also padding 20 pixel on each side, then let's say border of 20 pixel, solid, and some dark gray color, and a background color. I'm using shorthand property here, so you can use background hyphen color property, or you can use shorthand property, doesn't matter. It's going to be applied. And let's say it's somewhat lighter gray color, right? So we can see that container now on the page. This is what the container we have. 20 pixel margin, then dark gray color 20 pixel border, and a light gray color 20 pixel padding in that. Now this is total, height is total 40 pixel here because 20 pixel top padding and 20 pixel bottom padding. So this light gray color height is 40 pixels. Now let's work on these boxes. Let's say I want each box to be 100 by 100 size. So I'm going to use a box class which has been applied on each div here. Every div we have this box. So let us use that box. And let us set its width to be 100 pixel and its height to be 100 pixel. Now as soon as I save this one, we'll have all three boxes with red, green, and blue color because we have already set those classes. Okay, so now we have those boxes. So because box has a size 100 cross 100 and each div has red, green, and blue class already applied, we have red, green, and blue divisions here. Okay, so now we have all three boxes here. And now I want to target each box individually, and that's why I have applied one more class here, box 1, box 2, and box 3, so that I can target those divisions individually. Box 1, similarly, I can go for, let's say, box 2 and a box 3, right? So using these classes, we can target those divs separately. And what we want to understand right now is the positioning system. And for that, we have position property. Okay, position property. Now there are 4 different positions in CSS. Okay, one is static, another one is relative, third one is absolute, and the fourth one is fixed. Now, there are 4 different positioning systems available in CSS. When we don't apply any positioning system, then by default it is static. So right now this is a static positioning system, and static positioning system is nothing but top to bottom, left to right, rendering part of your entire page, and the default behavior of each and every element will be followed by the browser. So div always occupies the entire width. Next div will always be underneath the first div. Okay, and that's why red div, even if we have 100 cross 100 size, next div is below that div. Okay, because this div occupies the entire width. So that's a static positioning system. Now relative positioning system, let us understand that thing. Let us apply box 1, which is a red box, okay, to have a relative positioning system. Now when I apply position relative and save, nothing happens on this thing. Okay, but when I say this box is a relatively positioned, then I can displace that box from its original place. So for displacement, let's say from left side, I want to displace this box to 50 pixel right. I want to push that box 50 pixel from the left side. And now you can see from the left side, it has been pushed 50 pixel, and I can displace that box. So from left, or maybe from, let's say, top, again, you want to displace that box to 50 pixel downward direction, then it goes down also. And when you use relative, absolute, or fixed positioning system, your elements are going to overlap each other. Okay, that's what happens. So relative, absolute, or fixed positioning system, when you use, you can overlap your elements. So there is a green div, and now red color division is overlapping that green color div partition or division. So that's relative. So when we say relative, we will be able to displace our element, and the displacement will take a reference of its actual position. So wherever red box was, its top left corner was the reference to calculate this displacement. Okay. So this is what the relative positioning system is. Now let's say if I apply absolute positioning system, position absolute on box 2, which is green, and let us save this thing. Green color box has an absolute positioning system. Now in terms of absolute and fixed, element will leave its space. वो अपनी खुद की जगह जो है वो छोड़ देगा, एंड आई एम समथिंग करके वो सबके ऊपर चला जाएगा. So now green color div is overlapping every other. So actually blue color div is there. It is there. It is just behind this green division. Okay. So in terms of absolute and fixed positioning system, element अपनी खुद की जगह छोड़ के आई एम समथिंग करके वो सबके ऊपर चला आएगा. It will overlap every other element right now. And then definitely you can displace absolute elements also. But when you have absolute positioning system, it is going to refer, because when we want to displace something, we need to have a reference point. So in terms of absolute positioning system, it is going to refer its parent. वो खुद के parent को refer करेगा. कौन सा parent? जो parent static नहीं है. The parent which is not a static element or static position. So for second box, for this div, okay, the parent is container. अब container की positioning system क्या है? We haven't applied any positioning system right now. Then container is a static positioned element. तो वो उसके भी parent को देखने जाएगा. अगर उसका कोई parent static के अलावा position के साथ बैठा है, then refer to that parent, or else at the end it is going to refer the entire page, top left corner, this one. Okay, top left corner of your entire page. So right now this green div is going to refer our top left corner of the entire page. So with that reference, let us have from left side, make it 50 pixel displacement, and from top let's keep it 0. So it will be sticked to the top border, right? So you can see that thing now. This green color box is taking reference of the top left corner of entire page. From left side, it is 50 pixel pushed towards right direction, and from top it is 0, so stick to the top border. Now obviously you can use, instead of left, you can define right. Then it is going to take a reference of right okay, right top corner. So from right side, it will take a position 50 pixel left towards left, and top is 0. Okay, so that's how we can work. So top, right, bottom, left, anything that you want to take at as a reference, you can take it. And that's what the absolute positioning system is. Now, as I said, right now there is no parent which has other than static positioning system. So it takes a reference of body, which is the top corner of the entire page. Now, if I define container to be relative, so let's go to container, and if I say that my container is a relative positioned, then now green color is going to take a reference of my container instead of entire page. So when I save this thing, green color box will take a reference of this corner, top right corner of my container now. And with reference to this top right corner, 50 pixel towards left, and from top it is 0. So that's how we can change the references of any element in a positioning system. So relative takes a reference from its original place. Absolute will take a reference of parent, whatever parent which is having other than static positioning system. And then the fixed positioning system, third one, position fixed. Now, fixed positioning system is always going to take a reference of your entire page. Okay. And as I said, when you say any positioning system, element is going to leave its space. वो खुद की जगह छोड़ देगा. अगर ये तीनों ने अपनी खुद की जगह छोड़ दी है, तो कंटेनर जो div है, उसमें से तो सब हर कोई निकल गया. एब्सोल्यूट तो एकदम बाहर निकल गया, ये फिक्स्ड पोजीशन वाला div भी बाहर निकल गया. तो ये कंटेनर का हाइट क्या रहेगा? With reference to the relative position element, 100 पिक्सल हाइट. उसको हमने डिस्प्लेस किया, लेकिन ये रिलेटिव अभी भी उसके अंदर है. ठीक. So that's why container is having 100 pixel content, 20 pixel top padding, 20 pixel bottom padding. So total height is 140 pixel here. Okay, that's what we see here. और अगर आपको ये नहीं करना है, if you say that I want to fix my container height, then you can set a height here. For example, let's say 150 pixel height. Then it is fixed height 150 pixel. It won't change based on the content. So that depends on you what you want. Now let's focus on the fixed positioning system. When we say position fixed, it is always going to refer the entire page. Okay, so with reference to entire page, now if I say that I want my blue box to be placed from bottom 50 pixel towards top direction, and from left also I want it to be 50 pixel displacement. So blue box will come downward, and it will take the reference of bottom left corner, because I'm defining bottom and left. Okay, so it will take the bottom left corner as a reference, 50 pixel displacement, and then it'll take its space. So that's what the positioning system we can use. If we want to overlap some elements, then we may go for relative positioning system. If we want to position some elements absolutely, then we may go for position absolute and take a reference of the parent. And if you want something which does not get affected by any of the element on your page, then you go for fixed positioning system. Okay, and it is going to take a reference of your entire viewport. So in some websites, you might have seen bottom right corner, you might have seen one button, and by clicking on that button you will be Your page will be scrolled to the topmost position. Now that up arrow button is a fixed position system, right? So that we can use there. So this is what the positioning system we can use. Okay. As yesterday I already told you, in CSS you need to have idea how we can write CSS and where we can write CSS. After that, it is just a matter of creativity, what you want to create and how you want to create, and what creativity you want in your page. Then Mozilla Developer Network is always there to find out the CSS property names. Okay. And even you can search on internet what CSS property I should use if I want to achieve this thing. So that's always there. So this is positioning system, 1 point. Second thing that we want to learn is the display flex that we have used yesterday. Well, in that case, let me have another div. Let us have container 2, and in that container, let's have 3 more division boxes with red, green, and blue color. Right? So we have those 3, red, green, and blue, 3 boxes in a container 2. So let's have a container 2 similarly this thing. And this is container 2, and let me remove this positioning system right now, and let us have its height to be, for example, 300 pixel height. Right? So now this is what the second container we have, and inside that we have 3 red, green, and blue boxes. And next, what we want to have a look at is what happens if I apply display flex to this container 2. Container 2, I want it to display flex. Okay. So just look, by default, all 3 boxes were on means just below the other. Red, then below that we have a green, below that we have a blue, and that's how static positioning system works. But when I say on the parent element, when I say display flex, then all the child elements are going to rearrange themselves in a single row. So container 2 has display flex, then inside the container 2, all the child elements are going to take their places in a single row. So let me save this page now. Okay, and this is what happens when I say display flex. तो जितने भी child elements हैं वो एक row में आ जाएंगे. They'll take their places in a single row. Now once we display flex, then we have few more properties, CSS properties, to make or to arrange these elements inside our container, right? So first one is, let's say, align items. जितनी भी items हैं, जितने भी child हैं, उनको अगर मैं align करना चाहता हूँ, so then by default it is flex start. Okay, by default it is flex start. तो start से वो align हो जाएंगे. Now if I want to align all these elements to the right side, then the property is flex end. Okay, oh sorry, not the right side, the bottom end. Start is the top, end is the bottom. Left and right, there is another property, justify content. We will see that later. So but that's very easy, align left or right, but it is very difficult to align top or bottom, and that's why flex helps us to align some items on the bottom place, or even vertically center if you want. Then you can align item center. Okay, so This is how you can align your elements vertically in a center or top or bottom area. And by default, left alignment is there. So there is justify content, okay, property, CSS property, which you can use. Flex start is the same by default alignment on the left side. So if you want it to be on the right side, then there is a flex end value. Then it goes on the right side. And if you want it to be center, then there is center value, right? So that's how you can bring your element horizontally as well as vertically center in a particular area, right? So display flex will allow you to align your child elements vertically as well as horizontally. Now another thing, right now all these elements are sticked together, and the remaining space is distributed on left and right equally. So that's why it is on the center part, right? Now what if I don't want it, I don't want all my elements to be stick together and center. Let's say we want this empty space to be distributed among all these elements and in between and all those things, right? So for that space to be distributed, we have few more values. Let's say space around, space around, then equal amount of space will be distributed around your elements, and all those elements will be stretched or will be positioned such a way that every element will have equal amount of space on every side. So space around, or we may have space between. Then on the left side and on the right side, it is not going to keep any space. It is going to keep that space between those elements. So only the empty space is in between red and green as well as green and blue. Now this space that you are looking is because of padding 20 pixel. Okay, it is not because of display flex. It is just because of padding on the container. So that's space between. Oh, there is one more space, space evenly. So it's going to distribute even space on each side. So these are a few more CSS properties you can use with display flex, right? Or let's go space between. Then this is what the difference we have. Now right now the situation is something like we have only three elements, three child elements. What if I have few more? Then it's automatically going to set all the elements in single line, right? What if I have few more elements? Then it is going to affect your width. The 100 pixel width is not going to be maintained here. Now that's because when we say our container 2 is going to display flex, it is by default going to keep everything in a single line. Now what if I want to say that oh, you do not affect your on my width. If my row is full, then you go for the second row. So to tell that thing, we have a flex wrap. Flex wrap and value is wrap. Now when I say this thing flex wrap, okay, then it is going to create a second row when first row is full. So 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel. So there are 5 elements and 500 pixel width is full. Okay, then the sixth element will go downward direction, and it'll take its place in the second row. So 6, 7, 8, and 9, and so on. But remember, as we say, justify content space between, तो वो जो है स्पेस, खाली स्पेस जो है वो इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेगा in between all the elements. Now on the first row you have more elements, so you have less amount of space available, and on the second row you have less elements, so you have more amount of space available to be distributed in between your elements. So that's what the display flex property is. Okay, display flex. Now there is one more, this wrap reverse property. Wrap reverse property, and when we say reverse, then it is going to keep more number of elements in the last row, okay, and less number of elements in the first row. So it is going to wrap from the reverse position, from the backward position, and that's one more possible value of display flex, right? So that's the display property, display flex property. Now one more thing I want to cover is the transform and the transition. So let's say, let me transform this red box, which is box 1. Okay, so we are going to see the box 1 CSS, and what I want is when my cursor, my mouse cursor hovers on this element, I want to transform it. Okay, so to achieve that thing, we can use a pseudo class. So box 1 colon hover. Now this hover is a pseudo class which will be applied to your element when your cursor hovers on that element. Okay, when your cursor hovers to your element. Now for example, just I want to check it whether it is being applied or not. Then let us change the background color to let's say blue. Right, so this box is red, but when my cursor hovers on that box, it must become blue. So now it is blue, and when my cursor goes outside of that box, it becomes red. Okay, so that's what we can test. Okay, hover class, pseudo class has been applied here properly. Okay, now let's say I want to transform this element, and you can transform your element with all these properties available. Okay, so there are a number of transform properties available in CSS. You can do that thing, you can rotate it, you can scale it, you can skew, translate, XYZ, whatever you want. Okay, so let's say we want to rotate this thing. We want to rotate it to 45 degree when I hover. Okay, so it has been rotated, right? So that's one transform property and a possible value of rotate. Even if you want to scale it, you can scale it and do whatever you want. So this is the transform property. And hover, when you hover on your element, it is going to apply this pseudo class hover. Now we want to have a look at transition property actually. So on box 1, look, not hover, on the entire box 1, I'm going to set transition property. And let's say right now I want to transition this transform only. I want to transition the transform property. So be careful when you say transition. There are multiple values used here. First one, what you want to transition. Then the second value is what should be the time of this entire transition, whether 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 0.5 second, whatever you want. So second value is the time. And the third value is what type of transition you want. Let's say right now we want linear. I want it to be linearly transitioned. So what it does is it is going to apply that transition property on box 1. Whenever box 1 is having any change in transform property, it is going to linearly transit it with 1 second. So this is what happens. When I hover, it is changing the transform property. So it is going to transition that transform property in 1 second linearly. And when I go outside, again, within 1 second, it is going to take its original look and feel back. Right? So this is what the transition we see. Now, let's say if I want to apply transition on all properties, then I can write all. So not on the transform only, but it will also apply on the color. So from red to blue, that color transition will also happen within 1 second, slowly. Okay. So that's the transition property. And along with this one, let's say I want to, instead of a square, I want to make it circle. Then let us have a border radius to be 50%. Then it is going to make it circle with 1 second. So it is just a matter of creativity, what you want to achieve and how, right? Now that's what the transition. Now this can be applied instead of hover. You can apply it at any point wherever you want, right? Now what we have seen is we apply this transition to all the changes within box 1 with 1 second and a linear transition change. I can reduce this time to, let's say, 0.5 second also. Then that transition will be somewhat faster. Okay. And instead of linear, if you want to have a look at what other properties or things are available, then what you do is you just right click and inspect this element. Go to your inspect place. Not here, just a minute. And in your style CSS, you will find that transition all 0.5 second linear. And in this linear, just below, just before that linear word, you will find this icon, slight icon of line. Click on that, and you will see this transition editor. Now here, this is what the linear transition you have, and it also gives you the demo of linear transition. Now you can use any of these different ease in out, ease out, or other let's say different transition. So let's say on ease out, I want to bounce it. Then we can find that cubic curve or something like this way, or anything that you want. If you want to edit this thing, you can edit that also. Okay, like that way. And then what you do is you copy this thing. If you are satisfied with this transition, then you copy this cubic bezier and the values, and you bring it to your code. Instead of linear, now I'm saying that I'm going to transition it with cubic bezier curve. bouncy ball kind of effect you have then. So all these different transition, different way of transitions are available, and then you can play with all those types and create your own cubic Bezier curve and use those values here. So that's what the transition is, right? So we have seen CSS positioning system, we have seen display flex property, we have seen transition and transform properties here. Okay. Now, before we take a break, let's go and use this transition as well as load some social icons in our resume page. So whatever resume we were having, let's load that thing. Okay. So what I told you is, let's say we want to load font icons here. So if we want to have use those font icons, then the very well-known font icon pack is Font Awesome. Now current version is 6 going on. You can use this font icon, or we actually are going to use a little bit older version of Font Awesome. So Font Awesome 4.7.0, because it is a lightweight, it is having less number of icons. Now, as long as we only want social icons, we don't want to use any other icons here, then let's go and use some older version. So it will be lightweight and it will be easy to use. But there is always a newer version available which has more options and more icons available if you want to use those things. Anyway, you go for how to use documentation and icon available icon list and all those things. So let's go to the older version 4.7.0 right now and go to get started. Okay. Now let's say I've already downloaded or whatever. So just want to stick with version 4. Now, if you want to use content delivery network CDN, so in that case, you just need to link this CDN link. Right now, what I'll show you is we will download this Font Awesome CSSs. So go to download and customize, and from this place, you download that entire folder and extract it. Okay. So I have already downloaded that thing and I have that Font Awesome folder here. Now, when you download and extract, inside that folder, you will have CSS, fonts, less, and sus. Now, we need not to have these less as CSS and help us out text file. So it is not needed. But CSS and fonts, these two things are must, and it must be there within your folder to make use of it. Okay. Now going back to the website, how to use it. Now once we have downloaded it, once we have that entire folder, what we need to do is we need to link that thing. We need to link that CSS file, okay, using link tag on the HTML. And if you don't want to link it using HTML tag, then in your CSS part you can embed that also. And once you have that thing, we need not to go for less Ruby or Sass because we are not using it. Okay. So once we embed that part, how to use these fonts. Okay. That's what we want to have a look at. So go to icons. Okay. So these are the icons available to you. All these icons are available. Even you can search your icons. Let's say I want to search social icons, then these are the social icons available: Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and so on, right? And there are a few other icons also available. So now what we'll do is let us link this CSS and let us create few icons on our page. Okay. So I'm going to open our resume page here at this place. And before our style sheet, let us link that style sheet. Now it is there in Font Awesome folder, then within CSS folder, and then I'm going to use this minified file, fontawesome.min.css, and that's it. We link it. Now once we link it, it is available. So after this address, let me create a list of social media icons. So unordered list, and in that I'm going to create a list item. Those icons must be clickable, so it will be anchor tags. And how to use it? So to use those icons, we can apply ready-made classes. Okay, and what are the classes available? So here you will find it. When you click on any social media icon that you want to use, you will see that, okay, you can use class FA Facebook. Okay, so I can use this class FA and FA Facebook here, and let us save. So now we have this F icon here available, right, just below the address bar. Now what we want is, let's say we want to have few more icons here. Then I'm going to copy and paste and just change the, instead of Facebook, I want to have Google icon. So that's Google plus icon. Then let's say Twitter icon I want. Then I want GitHub icon. You can search these classes from the Font Awesome website page. Then let's say LinkedIn icon. So I've used these many icons, and we have all those icons here, right? So all we have those icons, and these are font icons. So you can set its width, height, size, anything that you want. So let's work on the look and feel. So we will apply one class here on the unordered list. Let's say social, and I'm going to use this class in my CSS now. Okay, so yeah, let's go to CSS file, style CSS, and let's work on that CSS now. After this header, display pic, and before main. So, well, you can write your CSS anywhere within the entire file, but what we generally do is we follow the sequence. So after my display picture, I'm going to write CSS for font, and then after I'll have a main section. So it will be easy to find out. That's the only reason. Otherwise, you can write your CSS anywhere. So I have my social class. Inside that, I have a list item. So space li, and inside that list item, I have an anchor tag. Just verify that thing. So we have ul with social class. Inside that, I have list item, and in that li, I have anchor class where we have this icons. So I'm going to address that thing, and I'm going to set some properties here for anchor. First of all, my anchor does, all the anchors does have by default this underline, right? Underline is there. So let us remove that underline using text decoration none. Text decoration none. So that underline will be removed. Then let's say, let us set its width and height. So let's or let's say, yeah, let us set its width to be 1 m, and height, I'm going to make it square to 1 m, and then let us just set a border just like this display pic. So we will have those borders. Now it's somewhat larger. Let's make it 2 pixel only. So now we have border on those icons. Um, let us also set its background color to be somewhat white, transparent white. So 255, 255, 255 is white, and 0.2 is the transparency. So we have some background color also. Now let us remove this bullets. So on UL social, I'm going to say list style type to be none. That's how we can remove all these bullets. Okay. And also I'm going to make this all these icons I want in the same line. So let us set, we know that with display flex we can achieve that thing. So when I set display flex, it is going to set everything in the same line. And along with that, let us keep it in the center part. So justify content center, then it brings that thing center. On top I want some margin, so let us set margin on top only. And let's say on right side also I want some no, let's say on anchor tag I want some margin on the right side. So right now all these icons are stick together. I'm going to have some space in between. That will be, let's say, 0.5 m. So now we have those icons available here. I want some space from this icon and border, so we can also set some padding here. Padding on all four sides to be let's say 5 m, 0.5 m. Then this is how it looks. Now let's say whatever styling we are following here, I want to have the same kind of border. Then from display pick, let us bring these borders and apply it. So we'll have the same icons. So now you know how we can set those things. Now if we want to apply some transition on hover, okay, so we can do that thing. Let's say I want to apply transition all for 0.5 second, and right now linear. And what happens is when I hover this anchor, okay, when I hover on this anchor tag, what I want is I just want to have everything full circle. So I'm going to set border radius to be 50%. So when I hover on this thing, it is going to become a circle. Yeah, 0.5 second is too much larger time, then you can do it in 0.3 second also. And with hover you can change the colors of your icons. So let me show you only two icons. Later you can find out the color code of everything. So when I hover on anchor, okay, when I hover on anchor, and that anchor must be Facebook, so dot fa Facebook icon. Now look, I don't have any space here. After this hover I don't have any space. Now if I define a space, then it is going to look inside. But if I do not have this space, then it is going to say the anchor tag which is having this class, Facebook class. And in that thing, what I'll change is I'll change its foreground color to be somewhat Facebook blue. So I know that it's around, I have that color code, so let me write down directly 3B5998 or something. Yeah, it's a blue color. And for Google it's kind of a red color, so instead of Facebook it should be Google, and the color code is something like DD 4 4B39 or something. Yeah. So I've set those colors on hover only. So right now this Facebook and Google icon is gray color, but when I hover on that, it takes that color, blue or red or any other color you can set. For Twitter, light blue color you can set. GitHub is gray or dark gray. LinkedIn, again, a blue color you can set like this way. Okay. So that's what you can do with transitions and social icons. Okay. So that's it for, I believe that's it for first part of our session. We have seen positioning systems, display flex property, some transitions and transform properties and all those things. So let's take a short break, and let me first post the attendance form. Fill out this form. After a few minutes we are going to lock this form. So first you go and fill this form up for your attendance, and by the time, let me have a look at few queries if there is anything. Yeah. So okay. Sagar is asking that can we use hexadecimal code rather than using RGBA? Look, you can, Sagar, if you want your color to be full opaque, then you can use hexadecimal code because it does not cover transparency. So when you say 255, 255, 255, 1 defines the transparency level. So if you don't want to make it transparent, then you can always go for hexadecimal code. But if you want to have transparency, then you must have alpha. And to use that alpha, need to go for RGBA. Okay. Then some number system that don't have that student name, asking that can we apply two positioning system at the same time, one class sequentially? Look, when you apply more than one positioning system, then the CSS property is position. So you are using the same property multiple times. In that case, the newer property value is going to override the older property value. So first you write position relative and then you write position absolute. Then absolute is going to override relative. So at a time you can apply only one positioning system or any value. To any CSS property, you can apply single value. New value will always override the older one. Okay. Then what if we maximize the screen? When you added more boxes, will they not fit? Yeah. Oh, in your flex example, let me open that thing. Yes, when we have more space, it is going to occupy that width. If we have more space, then everything is going to be in a single line. It will not generate second row. Yeah. So I believe Nidhi, your query is related to flex wrap. Okay. FA stands for in FA Google. Look, FA is a prefix for font awesome. So this is how they have created classes. Okay. FA, FA Google, FA, FA Facebook, FA, Twitter, and so on. So FA they have kept as a prefix, and that's what the class they have generated. So if you want to have a look at the thing, then go and inspect any of your icon. Okay. So when you look at this thing, FA Facebook, then this icon is coming from some CSS code that they have written. Font Awesome has written that CSS code for us. So on the inspection part, you look at that thing and you'll find out. Okay. So we have FA class, and we have FA Facebook class somewhere, need to find out. And just because of that reason, we have this icon, because we haven't created that F icon or G icon or this Twitter icon anywhere. It is coming from the Font Awesome CSS file. Okay. Yeah, Krish, once after this query solving part, I'm going to show you something related to Bootstrap, and then we will move on to the template. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, glass morphism. Ibrahim, just Google for glass morphism, HTML, CSS, and you'll find a plenty of videos on YouTube to learn that thing. Just because of a limited time we have, I'm not going in depth of glass morphism right now at this place, and that is not actually the aim to learn. Right now, our workshop is aimed to learn three mainly used technologies on the web: HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. Okay. Riddhi is asking, can text appear only when we use hover? Yes, you can do it. Look, Riddhi, you you write your paragraph, okay, but set its opacity to 0, so it won't be displayed. But when cursor hovers on particular element, you set your paragraph opacity to 1. Then at when your cursor hovers, that text will be displayed, and when your cursor goes out, that text will be again transparent, opacity 0. So it can happen, we can achieve that thing. Even if you want your text to come sliding from bottom, left, top, or somewhere places, then you can translate X to some different position, and when your cursor hovers, you bring that paragraph using transform translate X to some place. It may also happen, and you use transition property to make it smoother one. Yeah, oh, sorry, I forgot to tell this thing. Arman is asking, what if we want to link that Facebook? Yeah, definitely you go to code, and we have generated anchor tag. So we can define this href. Here, you set your Facebook link, okay? Whatever Facebook URL you have, you keep it here in the href. Then here you keep your Google profile link. Here you keep the Twitter profile link in href, and then it will be linked to your Facebook page, Google page, Twitter page, and all, right? That's why we have created these anchors, so that we can link, we can have those links in these anchors, okay? Okay, then Pavdip is asking, sir, in resume page, when we increase the width full page, how we can give some separation between the columns of education table? Columns of education, yeah, right now we have used table here, okay? Just set a width of table to be 100%, then by default, your entire table will take the entire space, okay? Just set the width of your table to be 100%. Then explain a little bit again, variable. Okay, look, how to define a variable. For that, what you need to do is to define a variable, you use double hyphen sign. before whatever identifier you want to use. So hyphen hyphen read, this is a variable now, and you can set any value to that variable. Now whenever you want to use that variable, you just need to use var, and into the bracket you refer that variable name, red, green, or blue. So this red value will be applied at this place, then green value will be applied at this place, and so on. Okay. If this video, if we refer, then from where we get this link? Once we complete this entire session, I'm going to upload this video to YouTube, and then you may refer this video. Okay. We can link our social media account. Yes, I already explained. FB account, in that FB icon, how we can set a link. So I showed that thing in anchor tag href attribute. You set um, your page link here in href attribute. So just like Facebook and Google icon, we have set in CSS hover, we set a color. You can set other colors to other icons also. So right now what my design concept is, I want all those icons to be gray by default, but when I hover on that icon, I want that icon to change the color. That's how I keep. So on hover, I'm going to set its color, foreground color with color property. Okay. So you can set those colors also. Well, that's all the queries we have. Let me post the Google form link one more time. If someone forgot to use that thing, go to this form and fill out for your attendance. Okay, and let us have a look at the Bootstrap a little bit, because you wanted me to explain that thing. Yeah. Just Google Bootstrap and you will have the first link, getbootstrap.com. It's a Twitter project. So when we go to that website, you can see that it is a responsive mobile first site, front end open source toolkit. Okay, front end, because it covers CSS and JavaScript only. So it is a front end. When we say front end, it's on the client side only, not on the server side. So it's on the front end, open source, so you can use it and you can customize it just however you want. And it's a toolkit, it's a kit. It has multiple things available. And Bootstrap has created a very expressive documentation and very nice documentation which we can follow and use this framework. This is called a CSS framework earlier, but now it's a toolkit, we can say. So you go to get started or directly go to download. Let's go for get started part. If we don't want to, yeah, I'm receiving few more queries. Let me have a look at that and then we'll continue with Bootstrap here. Well, look, in student portal, this video link will be available once your class counselor fills the attendance, or else just go to BTCE2 Live YouTube channel, and in that now you will have a playlist for this workshop. Earlier it was not visible. I checked it out, but it's available now. So BTCE2 Live MEFGI. This is the YouTube channel, and under that channel you will have one web technology workshop playlist, and inside that playlist you will find all these videos. Okay. Yeah, as I said, after a few minutes, we are going to, yeah, look, the same Google form link is running right now. We haven't blocked it yet. I opened that Google form and you can see that thing right now. So if still you haven't filled that Google form, you can fill it. It is not expired yet. Okay, going back to the Bootstrap. So if you don't want to download Bootstrap locally, then you can use Content Delivery Network, CDNs. So to quickly start working on that thing, two things you need to keep in your code. One is the CSS link, and another one is the JavaScript script we need to embed. So we can embed our CSS using link tag, link href. So you can directly copy this code and paste it in the header section, head section of your page. And then just below the body, when your body ends, you can keep this script tag. Now JavaScript we are going to cover tomorrow. So tomorrow you will be more clear what is a script tag and what should we do with script tag and all those things, right? But right now, what you can do is you can link this JavaScript in your page. Now, if you don't understand this thing, then just scroll down a little bit and you will have directly a starter template, which gives you a basic template, entire HTML code ready. So doc type HTML, then in a head section, we have that CDN bootstrap file, CSS, and just where we end our body, we have a script tag also for bootstrap JavaScript file here. Now you can use this entire code as a starter template, and when you run that page, you will have hello world message with h1. So that's the starter template. And then what it gives us is, yes, you just go to the layouts, and in the layout you will have grid and containers. So as long as it's a toolkit, it gives us very or multiple things ready. We can have a entire grid system. Okay, so we can have number of columns and rows, and they have written their classes already, so we can use this ready-made classes. So that's the layout. Then you go to components and you will find multiple components available. If we say that I want to use accordion, then I go to documentation part of accordion, and this is what the result is. Okay, I can create this thing using this code. So they have given example code also. You just copy this code and keep it, paste it in your page and refresh your page. You will have this thing ready. So in this thing, we have multiple components ready. We have a navigation bar, so menu available like this way with drop down top menus available. We have multiple options to create menus here, right? Then we have, let's say, carousel. So it's an image slider. You can create slides like this way, and you have a reference code just below that. So you can copy this code, paste it, and just set the source of your image, whatever image you want to display there, and it will be the slider. And you can explore this thing now. There is number of components ready-made available to use. It just requires time to explore everything, and you need to read this documentation carefully to understand everything, right? So that's what the bootstrap is. Now, as I said, we have a limited time, and we now have only 35 to 40 minutes. Let's jump in the second part of our today's session, where we want, or let's say I don't want to create this entire resume page from the scratch. I do have one template available, and I want to make changes in that template as per my need, let's say. So what we do is, let's have a look at that template first. Now you can search as many template as you want on the net. So if you just go, if you just go to Google and you simply search free HTML templates, okay, then you'll have a number of sites where you can explore your available free um, templates. You can download those templates also. Okay, so there are freely available HTML and CSS templates. You can explore, you can download, and then you can edit whatever you want. So I'm not going to explain where you can find everything. You are pretty much fond of searching on the internet. So you can search anything that you want, go to any page and have a description, and then you download that template and you'll have that template in your local PC, right? So you just download. Now I've downloaded one template here. So what I'm going to do is let us have a look at that template. Okay, I need to bring that template. So, well, just let me bring that template first. Let me have that template file. Just a minute. Oh, it's taking much time. I'm downloading that entire template from my Google Drive. A little bit more time, and then we'll be ready with that template. Well, by the time it gets downloaded, I can see a few more queries related to attendance and links. So if you have any more queries related to attendance part or video links, then you can contact to your class counselors and take the Google Drive link or YouTube video link or attendance from the class counselor. Fine. Okay. Now I'm ready. So yeah. So as you can see, this hola10.zip. Now this is what the template I'm using right now for today, and I've extracted that thing, and this is what we receive from once we download the entire template here. So when we download that template, or from any website you download a template, so from any website, when you download a template, you'll have a number of pages available. So index.html, styles HTML, blog HTML, blog single HTML. So these are the different pages that they provide. And along with those pages, you will have necessary other folders. So CSS folder does have the required CSS code there, okay, with iconic icons available inside. Fonts, they have used some different fonts here, so they also give you the embedded font along with the font, along with the entire web template. They give us necessary images, then including, now this is the PHP code just to work on the contact form. So this we will be not exploring right now. And then there is a JavaScript code also given in the same template. Yeah. So let's open this index.html file here. So I'm going to open this index.html file here, as well as let me open this with a live server. And we want to open it in a browser. So this is the template we are going to use for now. Now this is how I have downloaded, and this entire website is ready given. This is a free template, you can search on net. And what we will do is we will change this background image to some different, because this is not my photo. Let's say I can change, or I can have my photo, I can have my name, and I can change this entire text and all. Then we have about section, some text, then the skills that we have already created. We are going to use this look and feel. Then few buttons. If you do have your PDF file for resume CV, then on this button href, you can set that PDF link, and others may be able to download your PDF, your resume PDF. Then experience, we are going to define our experience in this format. And then there are a few projects also, and so on, right? So this is the template we are going to edit and make some changes here. You can also download any free template from internet, and then what you need to do is you just need to understand that template once, and then you will be able to change or make any changes that you want. And this is a single page template right now, and there are options to create other pages. So on the top you have a menu. So on home is this thing. If I click about, slowly it gets me to the about section in the same page. If I click on works, then it goes to works section. Contact, then it goes to contact section, and so on. So it's in the same page right now. Let's make these changes, or some changes, and bring this content in this template. And if somewhere we need to change image or color or something, we will do that also. Okay. So first we do that thing. Before we do that thing, we need to understand this template once. And it's very nice that in a free templates that you download, you will have this kind of comments. This is the HTML comment. You will find these comments to understand everything properly. So in a head section, we have a basic page needs, and then you will find all the CSS required, scripts required, favorite icons, and when you reach to body tag, you will find a header, and then you will have one header logo and image, and within anchor you have that image. So what this logo PNG is, so when you go to this page, this is what the logo PNG you have. Okay. And if you don't want to understand it from this page, this code directly, then what you can do is on the browser page, you can right click and inspect. Then simultaneously you will have the HTML code, CSS code, and whenever you hover on those things, it is going to highlight that part also. So you will be easily you can understand what is there. So where is my header? Okay. So it is also highlighting that part on the viewport here. So this is where the header is. Then this is the entire section, and below that we have another section, so it is somewhere downward. So this is the about section. So now you can see, okay, there is a home section, there is about section, there is works section, there is a blog section, there is some CTA section, then states, then contact section, and at the end we have a footer and few other things, right? And inside those sections, let's say inside my home section, home is this entire thing. So if I open that part, inside that home, I have overlay, another overlay, then the home content. So this text is under home content. Then social icons. So on the right side, we have social icons like this way. And social icon is actually the list UL and LI, right? And when we go inside, you'll come to know that, okay, instead of font awesome, they are using some different font library, IM, right? And so on. So this is how we can inspect our page, and we can change everything temporarily or permanently. If you want to make a change, then you need to go to code, and here you need to update that thing. Well, so let's say first of all, I don't want this image here. Instead of that, what I want is I want to have my name with H1, let's say. Okay. And what thing we follow? So okay, we follow the same name this way. So I want this thing. Let me save this index file, and when I go back to this thing, we'll have that name here. Okay, we have that name here with H1. Now it is not properly being displayed because this is not the image. Now we can inspect this thing, and you'll find that H1 here, right? And just because default H1 and all those things, this is what happens. Now I can temporarily work here. Let's say I want it to be color white, so it becomes white. Then I want its font size to be, let's say, 2M maybe. Okay, and the entire element width, I want it to be 120 pixel. Well, it does not work. Then width will be applied somewhere else also, so need to find it out. Yeah, header logo, and somewhere on the header logo we have that width applied, 80 by 150. So we can find it somewhere in the CSS here, and we can set its width and all those things. If I say that width 200 pixel, still it is not getting affected. Yeah, it got affected. Then we have anchor. Yeah, anchor has 80 pixel width. Yeah, so we need to change this thing, and let's keep it 200 pixel. Then we'll have that name here. So what we need to change is, first of all, we need to change this header logo A width somewhat larger, and then inside that H1 we need to change the color and font size. So whatever changes I have made right now, it is temporary, because when I reload this thing, everything goes back to the previous state. So let's go and make the permanent change here. It was CSS change, so what we will do is we are going to define our own CSS here. And let us create a new CSS file. Now where are we going to create that file? So we go to this CSS folder, and we will create our own CSS file. Let's say style.css. Okay, and here I'm going to write that thing. So in header, we were having anchor, and I'm going to override that thing, its width to be 200 pixel now. Okay, now let me link this style.css file in HTML file here. So within CSS folder, I'm going to use this style.css. Make sure that you are going to link your CSS after every other CSS. So at the end, you keep your own CSS so that it can override other code. So that's what we do. And now we have a we should have, oh, it's not only header, it is header logo class. Okay, so let us go to CSS, and instead of header we say header logo class, and inside that a. So now I save this thing, and we have in a single line. Now let's make a change in this h1 color. So in header logo, I have anchor tag, and inside that anchor tag I have h1 tag, and I'm going to make its color to be white, and then let's say font size to be 2 ms. So we have that thing here. So instead of using image, I have made that change in this template, and I've loaded simple text here. So that's how you can make CSS changes. Do not make any change in the given file directly. It is preferable that you create your own CSS file, use the same class to overwrite previous values, and then you link your CSS at the end of CSS section. That's how you override, okay, everything. Well, so that's how we can change any CSS code if we want. Now let's say I want to change this image, the background image. So where it is? Now it must be somewhere in the images folder, right? And it is actually this hero image. I know that. Yeah, it's actually the hero image. Now at this place, let's say if we want to load some pages, then either you can replace this entire JPG file, you delete this file, and you keep your file with the same name, herobg.jpg, or what you can do is you can go to HTML code and find out where that hero image has been loaded. So it must be somewhere in the home section, and this is where you find that image. Yeah, this is where you find that image. So you can change this code also if you want to have some image, some other image to be loaded. So either you can change this data image source attribute of section, or you can directly replace that entire image file if you want to replace this image, and then new image will be loaded there. So that's also possible, right? Now that depends what you want to do and how you want to achieve that thing. So that's one thing how we can change this image. Now let's say very quickly we change these texts and all those things. So in the code, hello there, and this is the code. In the home section, we have that code here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that code from our original file where we were working. So hello, I am John Doe. Okay, I am a graphic UI UX. No, let's say I am a data analyst. Based in, yeah, we also use some town or somewhere because we are using dummy text right now. So we have made this change. Then these are few links for about me and projects. Let us keep as it is because it makes use of anchor tag href, and it uses this ID, works and about ID. So it must be there somewhere in your page. So ID about, we have it here. So it is going to scroll my page up to this section when I click on this link. Okay. So this is what we have made change. Let us save and have a look at it. So I'm John Doe. I'm data analyst based in some town. Now when we scroll down and we go to about section, about, more about me, and let us change this text. So we go to code and we scroll down. Now if you want to change your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and accounts and all these accounts, let's say I don't have Beyonce account, then I'll simply delete this list item. Even I don't have, let's say, a Pinterest account, then I also delete this list item. And I have Facebook, Twitter and Instagram account, then I'll keep those links here. At this place, I'm going to have my Facebook page link. At this anchor href, I'm going to have my Twitter page link and so on. Okay. So that's how we set up our social links. And then just below that, we have about section. About, more about me, and then we have a paragraph. So we are going to replace this text with our own text. So I'll use that text here and save it. So we have that text here now. Okay. Then just below that, let's say I also want to change this thing. Here I say hello, then the same paragraph, and then some skills that we have, just like this way. So let us have this text, and I'm going to place that text here. So at this place we have this thing, paragraph and paragraph. We have two paragraphs. So we'll make that change. Let us have our text first. I don't want this title about. Instead of that, in here I want hello. And then I'm going to have paragraphs. So this is first paragraph, and then I'm going to create a second paragraph. And this is something heading. So between two paragraphs, let us have some heading here, maybe H5. We don't know how it looks. Let us simply use that H5 right now, and we'll see how it looks. So save it and go to page. Yep, and this is how it looks. So this is the first paragraph, then this is heading 5, and this is the second paragraph. Okay, now let's quickly change this skills. So we do have number of skills in our code or our website. We have created those skills somewhere. Oh, not in this file. We have that here. Yep, we have these skills, and what we want is we want to have these skills on this code. So where do we have those skills? So just beside the about section that we have just edited right now, you will find I've got some skills, and this is how they display the skill. So here you write your skill name, and here you define your percentage. Okay. Now one thing what they have done is when you write your percentage here using JavaScript, they fetch this value and they set this progress bar accordingly. So using JavaScript they are going to do that. We just need to change this value. So if I make this 90 to 50%, then this will be 50% here. Along with that, we need to use this proper class. So %90, I need to make %50, and you will see that 50% here. So two things we need to do. First, this class, and then the span. Now this span is this kind of a tooltip we are looking at, and the percentage of this bar will be set using this class. So let us quickly change our skills. So I'm going to bring these skills at this place, and that is somewhat, let's say, 90%. Okay. Then second skill, and I'm going to keep it on the second list item, and that is let's say 70%. Then need to change this class also 70. Then third skill, and I'm going to let's keep it 70 as it is. Then Google Analytics, and let us make 90%. Another one, AdWords, 75%, and SQL project as it is. If you want to create more, then you can have more list items. So enterprise minor to be 60%, and so on, right? So when we save this thing, we will have that here. So now we have power user, Minitab, W, Google Analytics, AdWords, SQL, enterprise minor, and so on with the proper percentages here, right? So that's how we make those changes in the code. Now when we scroll down, and if we want to have this thing as experience and educational qualification, then we scroll down and we see that my work experience here, and they have created this timeline kind of thing using CSS. Okay, this bullets and line timeline kind of thing. So they have written some CSS code for this timeline class, and inside that timeline they have timeline block, timeline bullet, timeline header, timeline time frame, and so on. If you want to test it, so go to inspect element, and you will see that timeline class, and this is what they have written. Okay, position relative, text align left, margin top, something. Then for timeline block, again position relative, padding left, right, something. Then timeline bullet, they have written this CSS background, some dark gray color, height and width and border radius 50, so we have a circle and all those things, right? So this is what they've written already, and we are making use of it. We just want to change the content. So fine, what we'll do is we are going to change this content as per our need. So as per our experience, we say that from 2012 to present, here to present, I was in this company. So awesome studio, instead of that ABC company. As a lead designer? No, as a data analyst. And this was my task. So a paragraph. We change that paragraph, right? And save it. So now when we go to this page, we have that ABC company somewhat, data analyst 2012 to present, and the current text. So this is how we can change this timeline. Now, as you can see, there is two column timeline here, left timeline and right timeline. So what they have done is they have created columns, column of 6. So they have a 12 column grid, and when I say 6, so it is exactly half. So there is one column here, and there is another column with timeline. So this is the second column, right column. What we can do here is we can do one thing. We can cut this and we bring it inside this left column, and let us see what happens. So it is inside this timeline, so it won't do it better. So let's keep it outside. My work experience and let's say, and education. So on the left side, let us keep work experience, and on the right side, let us bring on the right side, let us bring the education qualification. So in education, what we have is on 2002. So on this right side, at this place, 2002, I've completed my, from this university, yeah, from this university, I've completed MS in Data Science, candidate, Data Science candidate. And if you want to keep some text here, you can. If you don't want to keep it, you can remove it. So let us see what effect we got. Yeah. So experience and education. On the left side, we have ABC company from present. This is something experience. And on the right side, 2002, I've completed my MS in data science and whatever education, let's say. So this is how you can change your content, right? So that's one thing, and so on. You can change few more contents. Now your template will give this kind of animations and all those things. So now we can understand. We have one image. When I hover on that image, so there must be some kind of a hover pseudo CSS class applied. And when I hover, they bring some darker overlay. So there is a division which is having black color with some transparency. Inside that division, they have this link, these three dots, and this text. Or okay, the text is there already. They only bring that division, three dots, and link. And also they scale the image a little bit. You can see the zoom effect. So that is a transition. And this link is coming from the left side. So initially the position of that link is somewhere on the left part, and when my cursor hovers, its position is being changed. So what you can do is you can go for position relative. From left, you give it a minus position, so it goes outside of the division. And when my cursor hovers from left, you set its position to be some positive number, so it will come from left to right. Okay, that's what they have created here. They have also given some light gallery. So when you click on that image, you can have this gallery kind of thing available. And when you click somewhere else, you go outside of the gallery. So they have written this code, but that's not the part of our aim today. So that's how we can change anything we want. Now, as you can see, there were few internal pages available. Instead of this index, we have blog HTML, blog single HTML, styles HTML page available. So those pages are something like this one. When we click on this, this is a blog single page. Okay, you can see blog single page. Now, how it comes? So here we have anchor. Okay, right click, inspect, and you can see there is anchor tag. And on the href, you can set the link of another page, whatever page you have created. So when user clicks on this link, your user will be redirected to this page, blog single HTML. So when I click on this link, it gets me redirected to blog single page. Now that page again has its own structure. You can edit any of this content, and you can make it look like what you want. You can change this image, you can change this title and everything. Okay. Even if you go to this blog, so this is the page where you can list your number of blog posts, different posts. Okay. If you go to works, then it brings you back to the home page. Now this counter is the states. For this, they have used some JavaScript. so it feels like it is slowly going to the designated number. So there is a JavaScript written for that, and here we have a contact form, and you can change your details here. Also, you can this is image, okay. You replace this image with your h1 tag, and everything will happen properly. So that's the ready-made template. You can edit, and even you can overwrite some CSS code if you want by inspecting your actual page, finding the class, and then use the same class in your own CSS code. Okay, so that's the day 4 of CSS. So we have spent 2 days on CSS, understanding what CSS is, how to write, where to write, what properties we can use, and how to write those properties. And on the second day, we have gone for some extra higher level of CSS, transition, animation, display flags, and all those things. And at the end, we looked at some ready-made template. Searching on a net, download that template and edit that template. Everything will work locally. For some templates, you require internet, okay. For some templates, you might require internet connection. Otherwise, some of the content will not be displayed properly because they might refer online content, maybe images, maybe on CDN network based fonts. Then you require internet. Otherwise, you can work locally without internet. Yep. So I'll stop here and let me go to chat box again if we have few queries, because it's time 11 o'clock and need to close this session now. Okay. Google link is not active right now. I'll look into that. Ask your CC to forward me the query. Okay. Change the background image transparency. Yes, we can change the background image transparency by setting opacity CSS property to your image or to your division. Okay. There is opacity. Oh, sorry. Opacity CSS property, and you can set transparency using opacity. Okay. Then aria hidden true. Look, those are few additional attributes for different kind of media. Okay. So we are not focusing on that right now, but you can look those attributes in Bootstrap also. Yeah. Okay. Can you know which hexa code for which color? Oh, look, if you just want to try out those things, just Google search, Google on the, let's say, color codes, okay, and you will have those different color codes from this page. Just Google it and you'll find everything. So whatever color you want, you can have hexadecimal code, you can have RGB code, you can have HSL code, you can have CMYK code. Everything is available. Okay. And if you are not let's say that much intelligent to pick colors, then you can search color palette for website like this way. Okay. So you can also have number of color palettes suggestions for your entire websites. There are number of websites which gives suggestions what color palette we can use and so on, right? So like this way, they give us example and then they give us a color palette. This is the palette because it covers more than one color with color codes. So you just search and you'll have the example with the color codes, which you can use in your website if you want. Because we are very bad in selecting colors. We are not designers right now. So we may take help from other designers. Yep. So you can search on internet to find some color palettes or color codes or anything. Anything else? Okay then. So thank you everyone. So this is the end of day 4. Now we do have 2 more days and we'll be working on JavaScript now. So tomorrow we will touch upon a very basic syntaxes and the basics of JavaScript. Starting from basics, we'll see how do we write JavaScript code and what kind of benefit we can have using JavaScript. And on the last day, we will cover few freely available JavaScript plugins to create presentation or to create some kind of animation and to create some kind of filters. So on the last day, we will see some JavaScript plugins, how we can use those plugins in our website. That will be the next 2 days path. Okay, so I believe that's all for today. Just a minute, let me verify everything. Yeah. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you for joining this session and we conclude here. See you tomorrow with the same time, 9 o'clock. Thank you everyone. I'm going to close this meeting for everyone now. See you tomorrow.